Hello and welcome back to the TCM YouTube channel, where we are once again back with another county preview for you, and this time we are heading to the seaside and a look at how Sussex are shaping up ahead of the 2023 season. And joining me to do so is Sussex fan Joe Ross. Joe, thanks very much for joining us. Give us your thoughts on where does Sussex stand for the season ahead. A nice general overview to start us off.
Yeah, cheers for having us on. Actually optimistic for the first time in a couple of years, really. Got a new head coach, back to one head coach instead of splitting it with two. And I think Fabrice is going to get the best out of these players. And it's going to help them kind of show the potential that they've had in the last couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And we will come on to Paul Fabre because that is the big news down in Hove. But let's start with your reflections on last year and last season, as we always do in these previews. 7th in the Vitality Blast, 7th in the County Championship. And your shining light really was the One Day Cup, where you topped the group and then lost to Lancashire, which I like to say, there in the semi-final. Looking back on last season now, how do you feel that went? Was it somewhat disappointing from your perspective?
Yeah, certainly a T20 was, because I thought we'd do a lot better than that, what we did. I think it was our lowest finish since 2012. And we never really looked like qualifying at any point. Championship again, just so many draws. We just couldn't bowl teams out. Had a lot of good individual performances, but in terms of the bowling, just couldn't ever get 20 wickets and get teams out. I think Ollie Robinson was our top wicket taker and he played 3 games. That's all about how we struggled bowling. But it was good individual performances, especially batting wise. People like Ali or Chiteshwar Pujara, Tom Alsop as well, putting good individual performances, but just only one win, and you're not going to get anywhere with too many draws like that. So
absolutely. And County Championship definitely maybe one for improvement this year. You've been relatively busy in the off season. I think we have to start with the massive overseas signings, and that is of Steve Smith. What's it going to be like for you as a Sussex fan watching Steve Smith bat in the County Championship Division 2 at Hove?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, there's obviously a lot of chat about him, isn't there? About whether Australians should be over playing county cricket just before an Ashes series, and if that's right, and whether that's a good thing for the county game or if they're only in it for their own interests. But I think it's a good thing. I think it's good that county championship cricket still attracts top players and they want to come over and play rather than just going to IPL or just only coming over for a couple of warm-up games. They actually want to come and play competitive cricket, and I think can only be a good thing really for us. But
it can, and it's obviously been built up a lot, so I wouldn't be stunned now if he comes down for those few games and just gets out for ducks. Also, you've got Pujara returning, a massive member of your club last year, 1,718 runs last year. How good is it to have him back and also to have that rock, I suppose, such a great player? How much of an impact do you think he'll have this season?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was massive last season. I think you can tell with how the batter's improved. Like, without him, we really, really struggled building an innings and putting those big partnerships together. So to have him back, especially for that early season in the championship, we don't often get too many Indian players coming over because a lot of them are playing IPL. To have him here with us and to have the improvements that he makes to our team, such a big difference to our batting. Yeah. It's going to be brilliant. I mean, he's one of the best players I think I've ever seen play for us. He's that good. And he scores, like, often you see him in Test cricket. He doesn't score that quickly, but he's really shown that he can attack on these, like, in English conditions. So it's massive for us to have him back.
Fantastic. So two fantastic overseas signing then. Also Shadab Khan coming from Yorkshire, all rounder. Another tool to your armory, really. Quite exciting. What do you think about him as a signing?
But I think it's good. I think he balances that T20 side quite well because he can go into the middle order and he can bowl spin as well. He gives you a bit of everything. But yeah, I'm really excited. He didn't go too well at Yorkshire last season, although it was his first experience in England. So hopefully he's learned a little bit more and can get a few more wickets and a few more runs for us. But I think he'll slot in probably at 6 or 7. He just balances that T20 side perfectly, gives us options with the ball and the bat as well. So
yeah, it'd be interesting to see how he does compared to Yorkshire, obviously. Let's turn, you mentioned at the outset, to your new head coach and Paul Farbrace. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of, I think it's fair to say, turmoil at Sussex over the past few years. Yeah. Lots of stuff in the media. Do you think Paul Farbrace is going to steady the ship now in his first season, bring the team back together? Because it's a cliched saying, but United teams tend to win on the field. When there's divisions in the dressing room, they don't win on the field. Do you think Paul Farbrace has the capability as a coach to bring Sussex together and get them competing again?
Yeah, I think so. I think, he was a big part of that white ball revolution, if you want to call it that, under Aaron Morgan and Trevor Bayliss. So he knows about building a team. He knows about how important it is to be together and to be united in that team. I think his style and his sort of philosophy on cricket is going to help a lot of our young players, people like Ali Orr and Tom Haynes. They want to attack, they want to be as positive and as aggressive as they can be. And with him leading them, I think that's only going to enhance their games and only going to encourage them to play in that way even more. So.
Absolutely. Let's turn to your players more generally then. And Tom Haynes, you mentioned him there, averaging 37 in the county championship, almost 50 last year. Obviously, your captain as well. What do you think's ahead for him this season?
More runs, hopefully, but possibly international call-up, maybe into that test team. I'd be surprised if it happened, but Rob Key has mentioned him on a number of occasions, and now with Luke Wright as England selector as well. It's a Sussex connection there with England, so possibly, we don't know. But hopefully more runs, and hopefully with people like Pujara and around him, and with a new coach in Paul Farbrace, his captaincy is going to improve a little bit as well, because at times last season he was a bit naive, I thought, and a bit lacking in ideas, and you could tell he was really inexperienced in the role. But with a new coach, fresh ideas, and still got those senior players around him, hopefully he's going to be a bit braver with his captaincy and a bit more attacking, a bit more aggressive. Could hopefully help us with our bowling, because at times it was just so flat last season.
And I just want to digress a bit, really, because we've talked there about possibly an England call-up, and I hate doing this on county previews because obviously we want to talk about the county. But I wonder, obviously we've seen the Bazball revolution in England of late. How do you think he fits in? Would fit nicely into that mould? Hypothetically, saying he got called up for an England side.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely, his performances in one-day cricket have been really positive and aggressive, and he's always looking to score. He's not one of these kind of traditional openers who tries to leave it early on and just feels their way in. He wants to attack from ball one, so he does fit into that Bazball philosophy, if you like. So.
Yes, absolutely. But of course, you won't want to see him go because he's an integral part of your Sussex team. What am I even doing? Right. So something that I noticed when I was doing a lot of research here for Sussex is it feels like you've got a lot of strength in your youth, in the youth ranks coming through the sides. You've got Dan Ibrahim, Archie Lennon, James Coles, trio of England under-19s. I wonder, from your perspective, do you think they're going to have big seasons, breakthrough seasons, really make the headlines? What are your thoughts on them three as players, and of course, Bertie Foreman as well?
Yeah, all of those you mentioned have played under 19s. They've all been a little bit hit and miss, especially in Championship cricket. But I think if I had to pick one, I think Ibrahim's probably the one that's got the most potential. He got a century, I think it was last game of the season, um, against Glamorgan, and he's got the game for that middle order. He can defend, and he's got an attacking game where he can expand and play more shots, which I think Paul Firebrace is going to want, especially in the middle order. So I'd say he's probably got the most potential, but they've all put in good performances at some point during their careers. Archie Lenham's been more in white ball cricket, but so hopefully he can make the transition into first class cricket. And James Coles as well. He's been really good across all three formats. Well, he's not played T20, but across red and white ball, he's been really, really strong. But just again, not been able to do it consistently. So hopefully, if they get more run of games and are able to put in those performances consistently, that's going to help us massively.
Yeah, it certainly will. Someone else who helps you massively is George Garton, and I remember, I think he's had some T20 caps for England, hasn't he? Yeah, and I remember him being in about those England sides. But for you, in terms of Sussex, how much of a big player is he for you, and what do you feel about him? Fantastic season, I think last year, even albeit not the best, but do you think he's going to improve on performances last year and keep going from strength to strength?
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, he had quite a few fitness issues over the course of the last couple of years, so it's just hampered him a little bit. But hopefully, again, with like fresh ideas from a new coach, hopefully he's going to have the shackles released a little bit and have a bit more freedom, especially within that championship team. Probably bat 6 or 7, possibly as low down as 8. And again, just the freedom to attack with the ball. He's naturally an attacking bowler. He wants to pitch it up and try and get wickets all the time. So hopefully with that philosophy from Paul Firebrace and Tom Haines, he's allowed to do that, and attacking field set, and he's allowed to just really go for it and let other people sort of play the holding role and just bowl dry whilst he can attack and pitch it up.
It'd be interesting to see how he goes as well. We've talked a lot about how your bowling attack is, a bit variable, but international experience and the possibility of internationals in your side, looking on paper, I mean, for red ball, Ollie Robinson and Jofra Archer, for white ball, Tim Mills, they're gun players, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
So I wonder, when they are around, how big do you think that is for your side, especially in the county championship? Because I don't know about you, I'm not sure many Div 2 teams would want to face Jofra Archer and Ollie Robinson.
No. Yeah, hopefully we're going to have him around, like you say, for at least the early part of the season. Robinson's definitely going to be about. I think Archer's away at IPL. But yeah, I mean, Robinson's massive for us. When he plays, he lifts the bowling attack so much. And he's a good player to have for those young bowlers, good senior player. He's obviously, been in a dressing room with Anderson and Broad, and he's learned in Test cricket in different conditions. So if he can come back and help those young bowlers, which they've gained more experience now. Some of them are in their 4th season, going into their 4th season of first class cricket. So it's about time we saw some more improvement and some better progression in terms of consistency for their performances, because there's been good individual displays, but just not enough on a consistent basis to help us win games over the course of the whole season. So hopefully with Robinson available, certainly for a good chunk of those first few championship games, that's going to help us get a good start to the season.
Absolutely. And even if it is for a couple of games, they're still going to make that impact, aren't they? Someone else who is now, I feel like a bit of an integral part of your white ball side is your T20 captain, Ravi Bopara. He's a bit of a veteran of the county game, and sometimes he can be hit or miss with the bat. But I wonder your reflections on him as a captain and him in the T20s as general. Obviously, we mentioned at the start about seventh in the Vitality Blast, not a great season last year. What are you hoping for this season from him as a captain and just from the T20 side more generally?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of hard for him because it was the first year he captained at Sussex, and our T20 side had so many overseas players coming in and out. I think we had 5 in total over the course of the whole T20 season because players were either away at IPL or they were then being taken away mid-tournament to play international cricket. So we didn't really have a settled side throughout any of that T20 campaign. Like you say, he can be a bit hit and miss with a bat, but if he bats at number 3 and number 4, I think he's kind of sees himself as the anchor, and other people can attack around him whilst he bats through and just rotates the strike, gets other players into good positions. But it'd be interesting to see how we go this year with our overseas signing being available for the entire tournament. I think that's going to be important for us because last year it was, every couple of games we were chopping in and out. We had so many players coming in, going, then coming back in, and we just never ever had a settled team which we can build momentum, especially in the Blast, because the games are so close, almost consecutive days, pretty much all of them. So if you've got players coming in and out all the time, you don't really build any momentum if you're winning. Whereas if you're losing, you're suddenly chopping and changing and you're never ever settled. Whereas hopefully this season with Shadab Khan, Nathan McAndrew, they're going to be available for the whole tournament, and we're going to have much more of a settled team. So we can hopefully get off to a good start and then carry that momentum through.
Absolutely. And you're talking about how you can build strengths there, but I want to talk a bit more about weaknesses more broadly for this Sussex team in all formats. Is it really the bowling that needs to improve this season? Where in the county championship, let's say county championship, where do you think the biggest area of improvement is that Sussex need to work on going into this season?
Yeah, I think it's getting 20 wickets. We just don't do it often enough. When we get into good positions, we just don't have the ruthlessness to kill teams off and then go on and win games. We seem to just allow teams off the hook a little bit and don't apply that pressure hard enough. And that's what cost us in so many matches last season. We got into good positions where we could have won games, but we just let teams off the hook and ended up drawing or losing. So I think once we get into those positions, that kind of killer instinct to go for the jugular and bowl teams out for 60, 70 instead of letting them go on to get 250, 300 and then we have to start all over again. We've got to be much, much, much more ruthless when we get to those positions.
And I wonder, do you think the surface at Hove has any impact on that issue with bowling, or is this solely down to the bowlers? What would you say about
that? It's probably a bit of both, to be honest. I mean, it has been flat the last couple of years at Hove. I think the philosophy from Ian Salisbury was these young bowlers need to learn how to bowl on flat wickets. They need to learn how to bowl for long periods of time and look to build pressure. But I mean, this problem's been there away from home as well. We just don't do it often enough. We don't have the killer instinct and the ruthlessness to bowl teams out. But I think the ball as well. Last season there was so many issues with the Duke ball. Going out of shape and going soft. I don't think that helped any team. But apparently there was an article the other day that said that the Duke ball's going to be a bit better this season. It's going to do a bit more laterally and move off the seam as well. So hopefully that's going to help us to take 20 wickets.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully you can do that and improve on that. Time to pin you down a bit now. Let's first start with your one to watch. We've asked everyone for one player who they think other county fans and indeed fans of Sussex should be looking out for in the 2023 season. Who are you going to choose and why?
I think Danny Ibrahim. He's had his England under-19 experience. He got a century in the last game. His bowling is a bit hit and miss at the moment, but hopefully that's going to improve I think he's a serious player. One to watch. I think he's only 19 as well. He's got a massive future ahead of him, I think.
Definitely a lot of potential there. Just finally, then, time to lock in your predictions, which every county fan hates doing, but I've made every single one of them do. Let's start with the county championship then, 7th last year in Division 2. Do you think Sussex can be challenging for those promotional spots this season, or is it a bit too premature with the new coach coming in and obviously rebuilding?
A little bit premature, I think, for promotion, but we'll definitely improve on that 7th spot, I think. I'll say we'll finish 4th.
Okay, nice in the middle there. Let's go on to then the white ball. Disappointing season. We've talked about it a lot. Vitality Blast wise, Vitality Blast is the disappointing season. One Day Cup slightly better. Where would you put yourselves in the South Group this year in terms of Vitality Blast? Because there's a lot of good teams there.
Yeah, I think batting is still just a little bit light. I think we lack a middle order batter who can kind of close games out for us and finish us. So I'd say 5th. I think would be better, but would just miss out on the quarterfinals, I think.
Absolutely, but it'd be nice to see Sussex in the Vitality Blast. They've been, in my head, they're a fixture in the knockouts, even though they haven't been there for a couple of years. And then finally, One Day Cup. Obviously, I feel like you have a strength of you don't lose so many players to the 100. So do you think you can make it all the way to the final this year in the One Day Cup?
Yeah, I think we can. I think we definitely can. Last season, we showed, even in that semi-final against Lancashire, I think we had Lanc 67 for 5. And again, let them off the hook.
Just want to clarify that we still won.
Again, just let them off the hook totally. Dane Villas got a brilliant century, and then the game kind of slips away from us there. But hopefully, with another season of experience and not losing too many players to the 100, I think we're gonna go one better. I think we'll get into the final. Yeah.
Absolutely. It'll be fascinating to see whether that happens, and I like the fact you're optimistic about it. It's a nice way to end this preview. Joe, thank you very much indeed for joining me, and thank you to you at home for watching as well. If you enjoyed, please do drop us a like and subscribe, and we will see you all in the next one.